You're now listening to Directing Magic with your host, Marquette Jones.
Hello, this is Marquette Jones, and I am here today talking to a wonderful filmmaker, Tomeka Winborne. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. Hello.
Hi, Tomeka. I am so glad that you agreed to come on the show because you were the first person since I moved to the South. Yes, I'm in the South right now. I'm in Alabama teaching, which I don't think I have publicly announced on this show yet. But yes, I'm teaching at the University of Alabama, and you were the first person to extend a hand to me. So I was like, oh, you definitely get to be one of my guests if you're willing. So I thank you so much for that.
Congratulations on your teaching position.
Thank you.
Hope you're having fun with it.
I am. I'm learning a lot. It's an interesting thing because I feel like I'm in film school all over again, trying to figure out how to digest the things that I know and share them in a way that other people are able to gather, and also the kids these days, they are different from us.
Right.
I have one student who, God bless him, he says, I don't watch movies at all.
But he's in film school.
Right. Well, technically it's creative media, which,
okay.
But it's all production. It's all media production. So that's been an interesting thing because their understanding of production includes things like YouTube channels and stuff like that. And so I'm learning their language.
Awesome.
As well as trying to convey to them as much as I can about the craft of filmmaking. And, making things independently and stuff like that. So anyway, that's what's going on with me. So you are also a filmmaker. You're also in the South right now. Can you tell everybody where you are and what your last movie was?
Yes, Atlanta, Georgia. I moved there actually in September. So from Virginia. And my latest movie is Aged Out. It's a short film that I'm submitting to festivals. Not having great luck right now, but yeah, we're submitting to festivals, and it's a passion project. Didn't have a lot of money, but it was. I want to bring awareness to youth aging out of foster care.
What made you decide to work on that particular passion project right now?
Well, there was a young man who was moving to LA to be an actor, and from Virginia, and he wanted to get a role that I guess extended his range. And he had been playing like the cute guy next door. So he said, I need something. And it was a project that I wanted to work on anyways. When I lived in New York, my roommate, she worked for this nonprofit agency that were seeking to adopt kids blindly, and I was like, who would do that? So after she explained, after they get a certain age, it's harder to get them adopted, and then once they age out, the ratio of them that becomes homeless or just go through a lot of hard times. It was always something in my mind that I wanted to do, and I would have done, but because he gave me the motivation to do it, I went ahead and wrote the script, and we went from there.
That's fantastic. I produced a short called Jackie that was also about someone who had been in foster care, and the filmmaker, whose name is also Tomeka.
Great name.
I swear, Tomeka Gouchard. She is a wonderful filmmaker that I had a chance to work with, and she's doing a feature project on aging out of foster care as well. It's really interesting.
Wow. I'm working on a script for aging out of foster care too, a feature script.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We may need to collaborate.
You may. She's, it's a really great story in general. And I think that is something that we need to have more awareness about. So I congratulate both of you guys for picking up the mantle and using media to kind of spread awareness. That's really cool.
Thank you.
So you said that you're applying to film festivals now.
Yes. This is my first time doing the film festival circuit because I didn't go to film school. So I wanted to make like 3 short films just to be my film school.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is a different monster that I wasn't quite prepared for, but I'm learning a lot just applying for festivals. So I'll have a better gauge of how to, in the pre-production phase, plan for festivals too in the next project.
What would you do differently if you had to do it over in terms of pre-planning for festivals?
One, definitely fundraising would be the first thing because it becomes very expensive. But I think also just getting my mind ready as I'm planning to, for film festivals in the pre-production phase, just making that part of my task. Mm-hmm. Because I'm sort of type A, so I'm goal oriented. So if I can at least know that this is coming down the road, versus just getting once you have the project done, okay, now we're just going to submit to festivals. And I thought I'll shoot it out there and, and researching festivals, seeing what festivals are looking for, what type of projects. Mm-hmm. So initially I probably was submitting to festivals that were probably not quite as friendly to the project for one reason or the other. And so now I'm sort of reshifting my direction to different types of festivals that's more open to smaller independent projects, particularly that may have some, flaws here and there due to, little stuff.
Just the little flaws, just the little ones. Okay, so who are you hoping to get into film festival wise?
Any film festival, honestly. I missed a couple of them. I would have loved to have done the. I did apply to Sundance. Still waiting to hear on that. I did apply to Tribeca, so of course that would be awesome. But also, there were a few festivals that I would have liked to do, and that's the other part of the pre-production is understanding timelines and mm-hmm. When their submission dates are over with, and particularly early submission dates because it's a little bit less expensive. But at this point, I think if I can get into just a few of them, just because I think my goal for this is to build an audience for the feature project.
Right.
So I'm not picky at this point.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a title for the feature version yet?
I don't yet. So I'm still fleshing out the storyline. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's a character that comes at the end of the story, Tiara. I'm going to use her as the main character because I want to focus mainly on this one, particularly the life of people who aged out of foster care, but from a female perspective, because when I was doing my research, I had the opportunity to interview a few, it just came to me, a few females, and their journey is even more difficult than a male to a certain degree. Not necessarily that it's better. I mean, it's better for a male, but it's definitely harder. They have to, sometimes create places safe places. Mm-hmm. In addition to being out in the cold. Some kids, end up having children, some, that's outside or, avoiding rape or, sexual abuse. So, mm-hmm. Trying to show a more realistic, in a short, it's hard to compact all of that in there. So I just would like to expand that a little bit.
So how is Atlanta treating you?
Atlanta's great. I love the energy in Atlanta. My goal is to direct TV, and mm-hmm. so they're not quite there yet as far as an industry where they're doing any hiring. So I am looking to transition to LA early next year.
Oh, wow.
Well, I'm getting older, so I'm I don't have time. And luckily when I got there, I was able to transition staying with a friend. And I see that it's not going to be as easy to reach my goals. And I just don't want to waste a lot of time. So I said, you know what? Let's go out there. If I fail, I can always come back,
Mm-hmm. What is it that you're hoping for in Los Angeles?
A couple things. First thing is I would love to direct TV, episodic TV. That's my first goal. I've never directed TV, so having to, create maybe shadowing opportunities. Mm-hmm. But also I have a few projects that I'm writing. One is a drama for TV, and then the other, of course, is Aged Out project. And then I have a documentary project that I'm trying to fit into. So pitching projects because, and I know it's not easy because a lot of people go out there, but, I say, why not throw my head in there to see if one of those projects, strike a chord with someone and maybe get it out there.
One of the things I noticed with you is that you seem to be able to connect with the filmmaking community wherever you go. Mm-hmm. How are you able to do that? Because I feel like that's a skill.
I sold real estate for many years. I started selling real estate at 25. So part of selling homes is networking. Mm-hmm. And I'm not afraid of no's. I really embrace no's because I know they're coming. And I also believe after so many no's, a yes has to come. So I just go out there, meet who I can meet. And, I'm prepared to go out there. I don't expect doors to swing open, but I'm going to network, get into as many circles as I can. And hopefully one of them will be the right circle, meet the right person that can at least give me some guidance. Mm-hmm. How was your... Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
What was that?
I was going to say, how was it living in LA for you?
I learned a lot in Los Angeles. So I do not regret being there the time that I was there, certainly. But I did find really quickly that all of my previous accolades and education and, all that stuff did not matter.
Oh, wow. Wow.
In Los Angeles. They were like, that's cool. You have a graduate degree in film. So you want to be an intern?
Yeah. Someone else told me that too.
And I'm like, but I mean, I interned in New York. That doesn't, and there was, it was still like start at the bottom.
Okay.
No matter what you brought to the table, from wherever you were coming from. Mm-hmm. And I had to learn that and get over myself really, really fast in terms of I had a little bit of hair flip. Like, excuse me? You know who I am? And they were like, no, we don't. Wow. So,
no, we don't.
So that was a big thing. And so I had to do what you're talking about, which is network, and join different organizations and volunteer my time. And that once I started doing that, a lot more started to happen for me in the city. And I was able to meet a lot of wonderful folks that have similar goals as me and wanted to do both passion projects and get into film and television. And so I feel like the networking piece is something that you don't learn right away, and the sooner that you can learn that, the faster things are going to go. So right. That's kind of why I was asking you about how is it that you seem to be able to kind of jump in really fast? What's the secret to that?
And I don't know that I know a secret, but I think it's one of the things you said. I don't mind volunteering. I understand that I'm coming in and have even less experience than you do. Mm-hmm. I've seen a couple of your projects. I've only done 3 short films and then a documentary project for a cable company. So I come
in.
Which
is good, which is a lot.
Thank you. But I know if you ask anyone in LA, who's Tomeka Winborne, they're going to be like, who? I don't know her. I've never heard of her. So my goal is just like you said, joining organizations, but also if there's opportunities to volunteer, at festivals, at different events that you can meet other filmmakers, I think that's key. And just being as active as I can. So that's one of the, I don't have a magic answer because I haven't gotten there yet, but mm-hmm. I think just preparing for networking is the big, and not just networking, because I think it's easy to go somewhere and just hand out cards, but building those relationships, mm-hmm. whether it's someone that's on the same level that I'm on and we can collaborate on some things or meeting someone that can say, hey, I understand your goals and let me, talk to so and so and so. Mm-hmm. One of the things in Atlanta that I found is I took a few classes, and what was interesting is that people that worked at networks or managers, they were taking classes, so I think just being in those environments that you're learning, but still in the industry, Mm-hmm. Also, when I went to Atlanta, I was very focused. as far as like, I wasn't trying to hang out and party. I wasn't trying to, like, even I have a lot of family in Atlanta. A lot of them haven't even seen me yet. I call them like, hey, how y'all doing? But no, I got an event to go to tonight. Just because I feel like in order for me to get there and meet people, I just have to get as active, be as active as I can.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What about finding mentors? I would
love a mentor. Have you been able to find good mentors?
No.
Like I have
that's not like an absolute no, but I know that like finding them is hard.
Yeah.
So I don't want to, if anybody's listening.
Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah. I have someone that outside of like social media stalking that I would love to reach out to, and I probably will. I'm just trying to wait until I like have hard dates to get into LA. But she's like kicking butt, and I don't even think a lot of people are familiar with her. But I'm just so impressed with as a director. Like I saw her on a panel.
Who is this?
God, why did you ask me her name? 1 second, I'll tell you. Marta Cunningham.
What has she done?
Well, she's like this DB. Like I know she's directed Insecure. She's directed a couple episodes on Transparent. She's directed quite a few things recently, and it seems like she just hit her stride this year. I don't know what happened, but she might be a great person to get in contact with, so you can pick her brain for us.
We'll do. What is her first name again? Is something
Marta, Marta.
Gotcha.
And I think it's Cunningham. Let me make sure I'm correct with her last name. But I saw her on a panel discussion, and I just Googled her. And after I Googled her, and I was like, looking at her stuff. And so at that time, I don't know. I know she did a TED Talk, and, I watched that. And then all of a sudden I just started, and I followed her on Instagram. And then I saw her like, shooting here, directing here. I was like, wow. So I'm started like stalking her because I feel like she's still new enough that she might be willing to, I won't say new because she's been in the industry for a while, but I think she's probably like as a direct TV director, new enough that maybe she might be kind enough to say, like, if you interview her, she might share some secrets on how to get started.
Well, I think that Marta, if you're listening, we have a date, girlfriend. So like, let's pull out our calendars. Let's figure it out. And I'm really serious. I'm not even joking.
She doesn't know me, so I'm just stalking her.
Well, but the cool thing about that is that like people have been really kind to share their, not necessarily their secrets to success, but what they're doing in order to move forward. And you never know, it could happen.
Yeah.
And I'm doing more outreach in terms of getting people to say yes to come on the show. So, hey, I really am going to add her to the list of people I'm going to reach out to just because you said that.
But she's like, just if you look at her IMDb just this year, she's done quite a bit.
So is that one of your things that you do research on people whose career track you're interested in, or? I
do. Like I'm a nerd, so I look at panel discussions. Like even if I'm writing, sometimes I just have it on YouTube playing, or if I Google like who's recent film festivals, panel discussions, or look women in film, whatever. I'll just look, and then if I find someone that's interesting, then I'll follow them and then just sort of look at their track. Another person, you actually, I think, interviewed her a while ago. She's so sweet, Rachel Goldberg.
Oh, yes.
She's such a sweetheart.
She really is.
I was applying for AFI's Directing Women Workshop, and she was she didn't know me either, so I just I'm not scared to ask either. So I reached out to her, and I was like, hey, I heard you on this podcast, and, I know you remember Alliance of Women Direct Award, whatever. So I was like, and I'm a member of the Alliance of Women Directors. So I was like, I'm considering applying for this position. Do you have any advice? And she was so kind. Like she scheduled a time to talk with me via phone.
Nice.
Allowed me to send her like my rough, essay, and she gave me some pointers, and yeah.
Wow.
So I think that we will be seeing a lot of, in the near future. She seems like she's making some traction as well.
I am so happy to hear this happen.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. So I'm sorry. I'm flustered. I'm like, you did? That's great.
I did.
I totally would have been like, you should go listen to her episode. And you're like, no, I've done that.
I've already listened to all of your episodes. I love this podcast because, as I guess like a person not in LA, sort of newer to film, I don't know everyone. So when I'm listening to podcasts, particularly women filmmakers, I just get to learn people. So whenever I listen to a few podcasts that cover not just women, but filmmakers that I find interesting, I if I find a podcast, I'll listen to them and then I'll research the people and see what they're doing. And I think it's a great way too, because I always get nuggets. Like every, episode, I get at least one nugget from someone. So I'm excited that you're doing this. You're doing great work.
Thank you so much. And just on some community building stuff, what other podcasts are you listening to that you really like?
There's a young lady, I did one with her called The Creative Outsiders. She has a unique perspective because she's more interviewing like the people that are growing. They're not there yet, emerging filmmakers. But also there's a podcast beyond, of course, when you ask me names, I forget, Beyond the, what is it? Brilliance. I like her podcast. Then I also have been recently listening to No Film School has a podcast now. And just, and this is not filmmaking related, but I love The Moth.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I listen to them quite a bit.
I really like them because they just find such interesting stories and such interesting way of telling the stories. And that makes me happy. Like, wow, it's impressive.
Yeah. And they're real stories, and you're either going to laugh, cry, or just be like, oh, okay. That's great.
Huge eyebrow raise.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I found out about you is that you work with Monty Ross.
Yes, I was going to ask you, did you know him? Yep.
We're Facebook friends.
Okay.
So I don't know if that counts as knowing him, but
didn't you intern with Spike one year?
Yes.
He wasn't there at that time. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, you're so funny. How do you know this?
I told you I study people.
I actually did not meet Monty through Spike. I met him through the film festival circuit. He had a film festival called the Mid-Atlantic Film Festival in Virginia, and he was one of the first festivals to screen my work. Phenomenal. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, at that time I was right where you are in terms of like, how come nobody's saying yes to me yet? Like, I really was like, again, with the ego, but like, no, for real, you guys, like, this is good. You should.
Yeah. I told a friend yesterday, I said, I feel like when people have babies and they're like, oh, my baby's so cute. And I was like, my baby's really cute. My film is great. You know what happened? We got a bruise here, but not too big of a bruise that it should, people should want my baby. I was like, well, maybe my baby isn't as cute as I think it is,
Right. No, I feel you. I'm like, no, I don't care. She's gorgeous.
She is gorgeous. I love Aged Out. I think it's, I think thus far it's my favorite project that I've done. Even over the documentary? It is. I think because I enjoyed the documentary, but I also had like when you get hired from with a company, you don't have as much creative control. Mm-hmm. And there's some things that I loved that project. And it was like, it was it was an important project. We dealt with I like social issues. So we dealt with sex trafficking and, it was awesome. But I think that was my baby because I had more creative control. Gotcha. Yeah.
And what would you say, what tips would you give somebody for working with clients on documentary projects and things like that?
I think negotiating how much creative control you will have in the beginning of the project. Mm-hmm. And they were great, don't get me wrong, but I think it's just like when, like the way you structure, or like I thought I would have more like prep time to like do a little bit more research or whatever. And they're like, no, let's do it. You got in touch with us? Okay, let's go. So, and it worked out, but I think it was a couple things that I would have liked to expand it on. Mm-hmm. But it was a great relationship. If they called me tomorrow, I would do another one.
What was the name of the one you did with Cox?
It was called In Plain Sight, Human Trafficking, Section
mm-hmm.
Human Trafficking.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So in terms of negotiating for more creative control, would you ask for final cut or?
Yes. And also, like, we didn't get a chance, like, we didn't submit it to festivals, like, after it was done, I didn't have any say-so over, like, what we're going to do with it. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong, because I feel like I have enough creative stories up here that if they hired me to do any story, I would, at this point, we need to make some money. So, like, I would do some projects that I did not have creative control, but I think understanding what that parameter is up front.
Mm-hmm. And what about, because with Cox Media, you've also done some journalism with them as well. Yeah. Do you find your journalistic background is informing the way you tell stories on the creative side?
Yes. I don't ever do a story without researching. Like, like, for example, with Aged Out, prior to, like, as I was writing the script, I bumped into someone who had aged out. He actually aged out, but he had great mentors and people to help him. And he graduated from Harvard. So I was at this conference and, we got to talking. So I was like, hey, can I send you my script? And he was like, yeah. And so, I would do research. I looked at the statistics and just like really tried to understand that world, because I didn't age out. I wasn't in foster care. And then as I continued to meet people that had aged out, I really took advantage of their nuggets, so even down to like the couple days before shooting, I was rewriting because I wanted to, use the influences that they gave me based upon the story. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you have another documentary that you're working on now?
Yes.
And this one is your baby.
This is my baby. And it's like, I'm so like, because I, decided to move to LA just recently, I've been trying to focus on like getting some writing material so that I could pitch when I get there. But, and while waiting on trying to figure that out, put more energy back into the documentary. But that is my baby. This one is called Laughing in the Dark. Mm-hmm. And this is going to be dealing with depression and suicide in the Black community. And it came to me in a vision. And so I keep, in the crazy thing, even this weekend, I had someone who listened to the prior podcast. And she said, she texted me because she was going through, a low mental place. And she said that when she reached out to her pastor, and she said, I'm going. So she said,
you guys don't see my face, but she did.
Yeah. And her pastor told her to, she said she reached out to him. She texted him, said, can you give me a referral to a Christian counselor? And he said, you just need to pray and read some scriptures. Then he texted her back again and said, Google scriptures. And I was like, that is so irresponsible. But again, if you are leading a whole community of people, you have so much influence on them not getting the help they need. And just a few weeks ago, I met another young lady that she said 3 people in her family had committed suicide.
Wow.
And so it's an issue that we're not talking about. But she said even one of the people who committed suicide, they didn't even talk about it. It was like they sort of brushed over it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We have, my production team and I, we have a project that we're doing that deals with that subject, suicide in the Black community or whatever. And it's interesting because as we're going out to try to raise funds, like there's a lot of push towards making it become a Christian movie. Because it's kind of a hot topic. It's not suicide, but Christian based films, right? So
Yes.
faith-based films. And so it's like, well, if you tweak it this way, you can get faith-based money. And I'm like, but it's not faith-based, because I don't think you could just pray away.
You can't.
Depression or
think
mental illness in general.
You can't. And it's so many, like I had in Virginia, I was renting a home, and there was this man. It was so funny. He lived with me. We rented rooms, and so he lived in the house, and he was schizophrenic. So I was like, so I didn't notice, I wasn't paying attention, but his behavior was changing. Him and the other roommates were like starting to bicker a lot. And so I don't know, one day he called me up and he said, Miss Tomeka, he called me up. He said, Miss Tomeka, come here for a minute. And so he was like, do you see those bugs on the bed? And I'm looking, I see nothing. He said, do you see the sheets going up and down, up and down? Okay. And I was like, uh-oh. So I paused, and immediately I was like, okay, this is a moment. And so I looked at him and I said, have you taken your medicine? And he said, no. He said, this was funny. He said, I was watching this, the commercial, and it said, if you're thinking about getting pregnant, you should not take this medicine like that, right? So I said, well, are you thinking about getting pregnant? And so he laughed. And then I said, listen, you can't stay here if you don't take the medicine. And I would make sure. So I started helping him monitor taking the medicine. He moved out. Within a month of moving out, he committed suicide. Oh. And it's important. It's not anything that you can just pray away, because it's an illness. It's no different from if you get cancer or you get pneumonia or whatever. Like, you have to treat that. And it's not, and just like we don't pray away cancer, we don't pray away pneumonia, we don't pray away HIV. It's an illness, and I think if our community, if, like the work that we're doing, hopefully we will encourage people to get the help they need. So, because it's preventable. If you can get the help, whether it's schizophrenia, bipolar, depression, you can have a good life.
So for your documentary that you're working on, how far along are you with it?
I'm still researching. I'm
sensing a theme.
Yeah, and it's like shifting, because organically I'm meeting people, and different things are coming, and I'm like, this is an interesting perspective. So as I'm researching, it's still like in the very infant stages of development.
Are you going to focus, as far as are you going to focus on one person or more personal stories or more expert opinions?
A combination of. I want to, if I'm lucky, if I can find someone, which is interesting, because as I talk to people, they're more open than I thought they would be about telling their stories. So I'm looking at probably a combination of getting experts, in conjunction with some of the stories, personal stories that I tell. Mm-hmm.
I look forward to it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Make it sooner rather than later, so I can tell you to come back on the show.
Okay, love it.
Okay, so we have talked about Atlanta. We have talked about Aged Out. What inspired you to become a filmmaker versus, real estate broker or whatever?
Oh, I think I've always, I lived in a family that art wasn't necessarily encouraged or discouraged, but it was not, I don't think anyone recognized the gift that I had. And so a few years ago, over a decade ago, I wrote my first novel. And then someone told me, they said, and I like a challenge. So they said, well, it's not a real book unless you make it into a movie. And I was like, oh, really?
Who said that?
I won't even tell you. It's shameful, yeah. But a relative, nevertheless.
Of course.
And so I moved to New York, hoping to get into the film industry, and it didn't work. And so when I came back to Virginia, I ironically, everything happens for a reason, because in New York it was just hard, and I could not find my ground. I couldn't meet, and I didn't know how to network then. And so my aunt was sick, and I came back to Virginia. And when I came back, I worked on the Obama campaign in 2008 as a field organizer in the city I'm from. And so what happened, I met this man shortly after that who was, and I had bought all these books. I was like, I'm going to learn how to make films, And so I met this man, they were making a feature film, and I was like, hey, can I work on your film? And he was like, well, we don't have any money. I was like, I don't care. I just want to do it. I'll volunteer. And so I volunteered as a PA. I hated that position, but I did volunteer. And
why did you hate it?
I don't know. I did not like it. I guess there's a part of me that has a sort of control freak. So I like to be the decision maker.
Sure.
And I don't want to clean up bathrooms. I don't want to take out trash, and I did what I had to do, but I will be honest with you, I don't want to be a PA. Mm-hmm. So, and I will be even if it meant that I never worked in the studio system and only independently created film, that's what I'll do first. Right after that, I volunteered and I saw the director and saw, and I had a chance to sit down because it was independent, they had writers from LA, actors, the DP. Everyone was really open because it was a small set. So they would, because they knew I was thinking about being a filmmaker, they were like, hey, don't go to film school, read this book, read that book, and I just started reading and studying. And then watching the director, I was like, I can do this. It wasn't quite as easy as I thought it was, but it felt like this is something I can do. And that's what inspired me to move forward. And up until last year, I was still selling real estate. And so I am getting a little older. And I said, I'm going to give it 100% to filmmaking, sink or soar. And that's where I'm at right now.
Fantastic. That's a really cool story in terms of people saying, go read these books. What was your favorite book that someone recommended to you?
I don't remember because I felt like I was just reading. I don't remember what my favorite book was. I think I bumped into a writer's workshop. And so we, for 7 years, participated in the writer's workshop. And that's where I met Monty Ross. He was working. Well, actually, I forgot to say, I volunteered on that on the Mid-Atlantic Film Festival too.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I wasn't there because we had flew out to LA that same week. But prior to that, we were helping get people there and all this stuff. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so I met Monty during that period, and he actually gave me a lot of coaching, and became like a mentor. Mm-hmm. And so. And then I just said, you know what, I'm going to make mistakes, and I embrace that, and I'm going to just do better every project. And
that's all of us.
Yeah.
That's all we can hope for. Okay. So before we wrap things up, one of the things that I like to ask, of course, is what is something you're excited about right now?
Gosh, moving to LA. I think I'm most excited about that. I'm scared and nervous, but I'm excited about it. Even if I don't get into the studio system, I think just being around a lot of creatives is going to be awesome for me. Mm-hmm. Then we'll go from there.
It's really interesting because you are not afraid of traveling.
No, I love to travel. If I had money, I would travel all the time. I'm actually in DC right now.
You're traveling now?
Yeah, I'm in DC right now, yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I'm in a hotel, so that green couch. Well, I definitely wish you the best of luck. And of course, when you get to LA, let me know so I can introduce you to some folks there. Awesome. That's really dope. So how do people find you? How do people find your movies? Okay. As I said, Aged Out is in festivals, but everything else you can find on my website, and that's www.tomekawinborne.com, and that's spelled TOMEKAWINBORNE.com. I'm on all of social media, most of, not all, but Instagram, Facebook, Snap. I'm not on Snapchat now. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. You can find me in one of those areas.
Fantastic. Well, I've said before, good luck with LA, but I don't know. Good luck with the film festivals with Aged Out. I really hope it finds its film festival home.
I hope so too. Thank you. And I'm encouraged. Like, but I've decided regardless of what's going to happen, I'm going to give it, I've applied to about maybe 12 of them right now. And I said, I'm going to pause for a moment. If nobody accepts it, that means my baby is not as pretty as I would like it to be. And I'm just going to create opportunities to screen it in different places using different, whether it's schools, also in some of the social work or foster care communities. So it'll find a home one way or another. We'll build an audience.
One of the things that I like to tell people about the film festival thing is, first of all, it's much more competitive now than it was. I think it gets increasingly competitive every year because there's so many ways to make a movie these days.
Correct.
So that's one piece. But if you have any personal connections to anybody who's in programming, one of the things I did not know, even up until this last project, like if you get people to kind of walk your project in.
Yes, I heard that too.
That helps a lot.
Okay. Yeah.
But
yeah.
I was like, it's like that, like again with the hair flake, because I'm like, come on, like it's good, I'm good, and they're like, I don't know you.
Yeah.
But once you start to build those relationships with programmers, it becomes a lot easier because you just rise to at least it's being seen, and once it's being seen, then you can wonder whether or not your baby is cute. But a lot of the times, no one's even really watching.
That's what I heard. That's why I'm not totally discouraged. This man told me, he said he got denied from so many festivals, but then he went to cons and then got waivers after that for all the other festivals. So it is what it is. I'm not going to stress about it. I have a contingency plan.
Which sounds really strong, like taking it to the schools.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think, my goal is just
and nonprofits.
Yeah. Awareness is the key. And so, building an audience, but also allowing people to know it. Because the interesting part is even my cast and crew, no one had even, heard of anyone aging out or thought about what happens to the youth who age out. So if I could just create that, an environment to just make 2-3 more people aware, then I'm happy.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Marquette.
You're very welcome. And thank you so much for being a listener and a supporter of Directing Magic, and now being a guest as well. This is really awesome. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. And I wish you much success with your projects as well.
Thank you so much. Take care.
All right. Thank you.
You've been listening to Directing Magic with Marquette Jones. Be sure to visit directingmagic.com for past episodes and other information relating to the show. Also, be sure to subscribe and rate and comment on iTunes. Until next time, bye-bye.